citation managers are crucial for managing citations. A lot of people, when they're writing, they just try to probably work it out on their own. And there is some merits to knowing the style guide that you're using for your academic writing, whether it's Turabian or Chicago or something else. But quite honestly, having a citation manager does help you in the long run, because very frequently you'll be going back and forth and reusing the same sources, or trying to find something that you used in another paper a while back, and maybe you've lost that or it's hard to find. A citation manager keeps everything in one place. So I use EndNote. EndNote is also, they have a free version through my university. Many universities do the same kind of thing, so just look that up and you'll be able to see what is out there. They have EndNote 2025 out. Once again, you would have to buy it usually if your university doesn't have it. It's a little bit pricey. But quite honestly, what most people use, if the university does not provide them an option, is Zotero. And Zotero is great because, first of all, 100% free. And secondly, it's very simple to use. Now, where I run into trouble with Zotero is I do a lot of kind of complex citations, and I need to change the structure of the style guide that I use for Turabian. So sometimes Zotero isn't as helpful to me in that regard. I believe you can edit the style guides in Zotero, but where I really get stuck is Zotero doesn't really have a good integration for Scrivener. And so since I'm writing in Scrivener a lot, that's where the issue comes in. They don't have this shortcode that can export into Scrivener. So let me just give you a quick look at what both of these can do. Okay, so here's EndNote first of all. So you could go in here, here's Dietrich Bonhoeffer works. Now if I wanted to cite this, I would open up Word, and I'll just use Word for argument's sake here. Now the way that I would usually do this, of course, in Scrivener is a little different. I would go in here, I would hit Command C to copy, and then I would paste that into my Word document. Let me just dictate something. So I'll say something about Bonhoeffer here, and then I'll obviously have to add a citation. So we'll paste that in, and then of course the citation would have to go in here. So there's obviously more than one way to do this, but the simplest way that most people do is they insert a footnote, they go down, paste it in, here's Bonhoeffer. Now of course this isn't a real citation, that is the shortcode that I've copied in. So then what I would have to do after I have all of these, let's say that this is at page 20 in Bonhoeffer's works. What I would do is I would go to my EndNote section here, and I would update citations and bibliography, and then it goes in and it adds not only the footnote in the correct formatting for Turabian, which I'm using, but it also adds a bibliographical reference as well, which is different than the footnote and slightly different style. So in any event, that's just really helpful to have, and you can use that to quickly put in citations in perfect formatting. Now obviously you have to be using your citation manager in the first place and filling out information in here. However, there is some good news here. There are online searches that you can connect to your university where you could put in something from Bonhoeffer. So I could go in here and I could say find me resources on Bonhoeffer, and if I'm connected to my university, it'll look up all the resources they have. I can then just drag any one of these into my own library, and immediately I have a citation for that. Now, fair warning, always double check these. I mean, just going into this random entry that they have here, they have the author twice, so that may end up in a weird kind of citation. But you can connect this to Melcat, PubMed, WorldCat, and some of these other major libraries where you can search for citations very quickly. Many journal websites will also have an EndNote compatible file you can download that will create a reference in here that you can then import in. Now, that being said, we also have Zotero, which I also happen to have installed. Haven't used this as much lately, but in similar kind here, if I were to go in here, I would basically do the same kind of thing to bring in a citation. However, the way you do it here is you add it through the Zotero menu in Word. So it integrates in Word very strongly. So I may say something and then add a citation. It pops up a little note here to say, what do you want to use? I'll use Turabian. And then it gives me a little search bar where I could say, okay, I want to look up Daniel, right? It'll look up my library, what resources on Daniel have I used before, and I could just grab one of them. I could say page 212, it puts that in, hit enter, and immediately after citation 2, it's now added that citation, and then it will also ultimately sync it at the end, and it will give me the bibliography. So at the end of your process, you would just say here, add or edit bibliography, and there it loads right in. So then you would just put in bibliography at the top, right? And then you're good to go. So that just makes life a little bit easier to keep track of things. Also, the benefit here is that if you edit anything in Zotero or EndNote, it will sync with all your documents when you open them, so you can keep things up to date and correct and work with your lengthy writing and research in that way. Now let me mention one other, Bookends for Mac. This is a great looking citation manager as well. I've really not been able to get into it. I may even have, no, I uninstalled it. But it just looks so simple to use compared to many others. It looks very much like Zotero, but it looks pretty powerful as well. Now, downside is, of course, you have to pay for it, so most people go with Zotero instead. The community is much larger with Zotero. But I will say that I did contact the dev for this, and he immediately created a Turabian style sheet for it, which it did not originally have. So he's very responsive, great guy, and I would recommend that if you're looking for another option. And it even looks like they have an iOS option too. So yeah, that's that. Price is a little bit pricey. They may have a student discount. Not sure, you'd have to find out. But every year there is a discount bundled with Malel. Malel is another very popular competitor to Word that is used for academic writing. It allows you to have an outline kind of structure in it. I've never really gotten into it because I have Scrivener, but Scrivener and Malel are two major competitors as well. So you may want to check that out as well if you're just looking for another option to decide between.